Hi, welcome back. And I thought after the prop video I did last week, we've had a lot of feedback, a lot of comments, sort of emails, etc. And I thought it'd be good to do a follow-up, answer some of the main questions that have come back and some of the points that were made. What's quite interesting is there is a bit of a difference of opinion. Some people sort of were saying that what I said was obvious. It's obvious that these firms are a scam. Others were saying, oh, it's all fine. So that's quite an interesting divergence in itself, right? But I'm going to answer some of the main points and try and sort of clarify a few things as well and some of the comments. So one of the points came up a few times is people saying that the failure rate at these sim firms is no different to the failure rate of day traders in general. Day traders have a high failure rate and these firms are just representing that. I just don't agree. I think there's a couple of points I'll make on this. Firstly, I think the failure rate of the live sim environment is higher than for day traders. I think it actually is substantially higher, actually. And the success rate of like in the live sim environment is really quite minuscule. And secondly, what I'll say to that is that the system itself, the live sim environment itself, is designed to create mostly failures. That's the key point I want to get across. They don't want too many people to win. And then even if you do, I've had Norton method traders who have crushed evaluations and then denied payouts afterwards by firms. I'm sure you've all heard of those. And, you know, some of you might think, well, they're like the worst case firms in this industry. But not always. There have been some, you know, large firms that have denied payouts to traders as well. So even if you are successful, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get paid. And in my opinion, the failure rate of day traders, yes, it's high in generally in futures markets, but I don't think that's because the system is rigged against them. The system is not trying to make failures. That's really because of the styles of trading they have, the mentors they have, or the people that get them into the industry. And, you know, most futures traders are using some form of technical analysis, for example, and it just simply isn't sustainable in this industry. So I think that's the real reason is you have to look at the quality of the education, the quality of the trading skills they have. And I think that's why there's such a high failure rate. But the system isn't rigged against traders. It's just that people are not trading futures in the right way. That creates the higher failure rate. So I do think there's a difference there in that regard. You know, a valid point that's come up a few times from people saying along the lines of, look, well, what else can we do, right? I have a dream. I want to become a trader. What else am I going to do? This is my best shot at becoming a trader. Look, I understand that dream, okay? I understand that dream. I had that dream when I was 18 as well. But that's the dream that these firms are preying on, right? They're absolutely preying on the fact that they think that you think that you have no alternative but to do this, and this is a really cheap way of getting a big shot at the big time. So they're kind of telling you on the one hand that, yeah, we can help you achieve your dream, but in reality, they're simultaneously making rules that stop that from happening. And this is a really, I think, quite a toxic, horrible environment. They're playing that kind of game, which is, I think, quite a nasty game where they're telling you can do it, but they keep changing the rules or making rules that will stop you from becoming a successful trader. So what should you do? I think there are kind of two options for most people. Number one is obviously keep your day job, keep working, whatever you have, that's what's going to pay the bills for, you know, whatever you do for any length of time, okay? So you do need to keep your day job and keep working. And then I think you have to, you know, start to practice yourself, but in a more of a market replay mode. So some platforms will give you market replay rather than live sim. Have a look at how you would have gone in real conditions and really practice hard, you know, and, you know, it could be a long process. Yes, months. That's how long it takes for most of us to become decent at anything, okay? But stick in there and try to learn. Guidance as well, okay? Seek a good mentor. There are some good people out there. And if you think every pro trader, myself, every professional trader at hedge funds or wherever they've been, you know, has had someone helping and guiding them. We didn't just get here by guesswork. And the same goes, I've said this before in videos and interviews, every athlete, every professional golfer, football player, you name the sport, you name the, you know, whatever it is, the pursuit, to get to a good level, to become professional, you have to have someone coaching or mentoring you. It's another big flaw in this live sim environment, the idea that you're just going to suddenly happen to come upon a way of trading. So I do think there are some good people out there, find them and make sure you have some help. And there are firms out there now that are doing that as well. So there are some firms that will, they are more expensive in terms of, how much you have to monthly pay into them, but there will be some guidance for you as well. If your prop firm, in the live sim environment, as soon as you have one bad month or one drawdown, they kick you out, okay? That's just not realistic. If I think about, my own students in a Northern method, I have a number of, very good futures traders in that community, okay? But of course, at some point, they're going to have a month where they lose money. Now, in that sense, they can come to me, I can help them, I can guide them. And the other thing is, they still have their account. Even if they had, let's say, a $10,000 account, maybe they draw down to $8,000. It doesn't mean they can't trade anymore. They'll come to me, they'll seek guidance. I'll try and set them on the right path again, explain where they might have gone wrong, and then they get going again. Okay, whereas in this live sim environment, you have one drawdown, they kick you out. They don't help you to get better, you just start again, because that is the business model. So there are some firms out there now that are providing some mentoring as well, and have a look at those. But you need a real pathway, okay? Not just a kind of hit and hope kind of situation of this every month just swinging to try and get, pass an evaluation. You need a genuine, real pathway of knowledge, of guidance, of support, okay? And then learning how to practice properly so that when it comes to, trading real, that you have a long-term chance of success. And that if you have one or two bad months, because every single trader in the world will have one or two down days, that's not the end of it for you. That's just part of the learning process and part of the process we have to go through as traders. Of course, the live sim, that's a great opportunity for them. When they kick you out, that means you have to buy back in. So that's an opportunity for them. That's what they want. So as I said, there's no shortcuts to this, and don't think there are. People sort of said, well, for $20 a month, what a great cheap way of getting a funded account. Well, my answer to that will be, you're not going to get a funded account for $20. I would say that I would be shocked if anybody has passed first time for $20, okay? And if there is, it's maybe one or two people. For the vast majority, even those that end up passing evaluation, they would have spent hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. And as I said, if they just have one bad month or one drawdown after going, live in this live sim environment, they'll have that funding taken away and they start all over again. That is not a proper trading pathway. And as I said in my first video, you could have spent hundreds or thousands of dollars. You haven't really learned how to trade properly. And in fact, the environment you're in is stopping you from learning to trade properly as well. So I really, it's not just a $20 thing, but what they play on is the fact that, just another 20 here and another 50 there and another 20 there. It adds up. It's that subscription model that really adds up. It's a modern model, and you feel like as well, once you've sunk, those sunk costs in, you've spent 6 months doing it and you've spent X hundreds or thousands, they're basically saying to you, you basically think that I might as well just keep going, and now they've hooked you. You become almost addicted to this. It's a disastrous way to learn to trade. So this live sim model, right, is one where if every trader wins, the firm loses. Now, that is as unrealistic as it gets in terms of a trading firm. As unrealistic as it gets. Your losses are their gains. That's it. That's the game, okay? And it must be, in a trading business, if every one of my traders wins, that should be the best scenario. But in this situation of live sim, it's the worst scenario. That's not realistic. That is not what you should be getting involved in. The more reasons they can find to kick you off, the more money they will make from you buying back in. So that's why there are so many rules, so many regulations, why so much, any little drawdown, they kick you out again. They want to create a game, and it is a game where you almost get there, so you get hooked to it. You almost pass eval, or you did pass evaluation, and then you had 1 month and then got kicked off. So you just think, yeah, I'm close, I'll get and buy back in again. Just another $20, just another $30. before you know it, you've spent hundreds or thousands. You're actually no closer to your dream. And as I say, I think in fact, in many ways, you're further from it, because now you probably, don't have the funds left to go and seek someone who really is a good mentor, who can help you and help you get through this process properly. So that's really the main points I want to get through here. And I say thanks to everybody with the questions. I understand everybody has a dream, but there are no shortcuts. And these people, as I say, they are selling you that dream while simultaneously making rules that prevent you from achieving it. I think it's actually quite a nasty business. And as I say, my goal here is just to try and help you navigate through it. Last thing that said, a few people comment, I always get this, that I'm just an old school, old fashioned trader. Okay, I've got the jackets behind me, but what do I know about modern markets? Well, firstly, that's just nonsense. I'm trading, pretty much every day in a number of different environments. And in terms of, the people I teach, I think I have some very good futures traders in my community that have learned from me, and even, in last year, I've had a number of my students go on and take up professional positions in organizations, including hedge funds. And in fact, I myself have taken on 2 or 3 in the last 6 to 12 months, working with me in my crypto hedge fund as well, designing strategies. I'm confident enough in them, in the way that they're trading, and in the skills that they have, that I will bring them into that hedge fund environment. So I don't think I'm just old school. And in fact, I take old school as a compliment anyway, because I value old school traders. I still think old school traders have skill set that have been lost and that are still very much valid today as well. So the idea that just because you're old school makes you bad, as Nassim Taleb says, and he's a very quant style trader, right? But as he says in his books, the best traders he's ever worked with were the floor traders. That's who he learned from when he has his quant ideas, but he went down to the floor to learn how to trade properly. So I still believe those skills are valid. And, I'll accept that I've been around a long time. It doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm teaching is old. In fact, the fact that I've been around a long time, I think makes it more valid. But I understand, people will throw that criticism at me. And it's up to everybody out there to decide whether what I'm saying is valid or not. My goal with this video is to say to people what's happening. And, I don't think it's, obvious that this is the case, because there are tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people around the world that are taking part in these evaluations, as we speak. So there must be plenty of people out there, and that's who this video is directed to. I understand your dream, I understand your goal, but I'm also trying to explain that these methods, this situation is not a way that you're going to achieve it.